This episode of JJ Meets World is brought to you by Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. Natalie has a proven track record to get your home sold faster and for more money. She is consistently focused on her clients' needs and wants throughout the entire process and make sure that they are well taken care of. If you're looking to buy or sell, reach out to Natalie today. On average, Natalie sells a home every 3.74 days. That's at least 2 a week. And last year, Natalie earned her clients on average over $4,000 above list price on their homes. And you don't have to take our word for it. Here's some of the great reviews Natalie has received. I was overwhelmingly impressed with Natalie and all the Hatch team. She was very responsive and responded to all of the emails within an hour. She gave great advice and encouragement from the listing and pictures, the offer, and all the closing details. The marketing team knew exactly how to promote my property, and I was pleased by how soon and easily my property received an offer. I was actually dreading selling my condo, and Natalie did such an awesome job that I felt like I really didn't need to do anything. The thing I most appreciated was that she really listened to what I wanted to do and respected my decisions. I would definitely recommend Natalie and all the Hatch Realty team. They made this process so wonderful. That was from Diane. So listen, if you're in the mood to buy or sell a home, give Natalie a call right now. You can reach her at 701-388-9338. Natalie, Natalie, at hatchrealtyfm.com, or you can go to livefargomorehead.com. That's livefargomorehead.com and find out some information. Huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring JJ Meets World. Hello, podcast listener. Have you ever wondered what a turducken would be like if you included other animals? Tucker and I muse on this, and then we get into a really exciting episode with Mike and Val, who are here to talk about their film Riplist, playing at the Fargo Film Festival, having its world premiere. We get to dive into one of the most morbid subject matters I've been dying to see. So you're going to really, I think, get a kick out of that, and if it's past the Fargo Film Festival, well, heck, seek it out online. It's there. All of this and more on today's episode of JJ Meets World.
1, 2, 3, 4. J.J. Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure. Yes, he is. He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. J.J. has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirls as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprain. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
The best French fries I've ever had in my entire life were at a place called Steakhouse in the MGM in Las Vegas, and it was made with like a duck fat glaze.
Goose fat.
I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was duck fat. I mean, I know they use goose fat a lot for stuff, but this I think was a duck fat because it accompanied itself with duck pate.
Okay.
And so I think they're like, "Ooh, we'll use some of the grease. We'll grease this duck." I don't know how that works, but man, they were amazing French fries.
See, I say goose fat because I've had goose fat fried mashed potatoes in Vegas.
Oh my
at
God.
Planet Hollywood, and those rocked my world.
Oh, that sounds
But
good.
duck fat, goose fat, it's probably tastes the same.
Right. I mean, that's why you have both the duck and the goose and the turducken.
Right.
Right? Is because you shove the goose inside the duck.
Even though the goose doesn't
No,
have
you
a
shove
name
the
in
duck
it.
inside the goose.
Even though the goose doesn't have its name in the name turducken.
Duck. Or is it a chicken in the turducken?
Okay.
Turkey.
Duckin.
Yeah. And then duck, and then N.
Chicken.
So is it chicken?
Yeah.
But I always thought you'd shoved a duck inside of a goose because they were both incredibly, they're very greasy fowl. And that the grease from those is supposed to leak itself into the turkey, but it doesn't make sense with the name turducken. Is there another name for another thing?
I just know that if I ever found a magic genie, he would probably turn me into Tucker the turducken. I bet he would, as sort of punishment.
For your overly greasy lifestyle.
I would have been too general with some sort of wish, and that's what would have happened.
Yeah, that's the problem with wishes, is unless you're extremely specific. Because there's always that monkey's paw idea of like, oh, I want to be a millionaire, and so $1 million bucks materializes in front of you, but then the mob wants you dead.
A lot of pitfalls with genie life. I mean, Jafar learned that big time in the first one, where he didn't understand the fact that with his unlimited cosmic power, there would be an itty-bitty living space.
Right.
And he ended up trapped in the lamp.
I believe that there is a big dispute between the estate of Robin Williams and Disney.
At the moment still?
Yeah. So because Robin Williams, like if you listen to Aladdin on Spotify, the soundtrack,
Right.
all the Robin Williams tunes are pulled out.
And you had said before that probably had some deal with the contract that he signed when he made the first Aladdin. However, because he returned for Prince of Thieves, I figured that...
And a lot of video
was
games.
it King of Thieves? Was it Prince of...
King of Thieves.
King of Thieves.
Prince of Thieves would be like Aladdin.
Well,
he is technically the Prince of Thieves.
The third Aladdin.
Yeah. Correct.
He returned for that, so I figured that maybe that they would have quashed any beef.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Beefs go strong and deep. Like, for example, take our guest today.
Yeah?
Our guests.
Yeah.
I got beef with both of them
What's
in
that?
different ways. Number one, with Val, I got beef about how much I don't know about the milking industry. And I say milking because I feel like if you're in the dairy world, you've milked more than just a cow in
Yeah,
your
you're
life.
in the pocket of Big Udder.
Yep. Yep. You never know. You never know when King Teat is going to come around looking for his amount.
Has anyone ever put beef in a turducken?
No.
Would that work?
Why not, right?
I don't know.
I mean, here's the thing. Not ground beef,
Okay.
but like layered beef
Well, I mean,
probably would work.
you tell me.
I'm also going to put this out there. Don't give me turkey bacon and pretend it's the same as regular bacon. I understand that you want me to live longer and it's heart healthy, but it is not a direct substitute.
I think if you put in thinly sliced ribeye, you're going to get a really nice juicy beef in the center of all that.
So nice marbling in
Yep.
that ribeye. You
Yep.
want something like that. Yeah. And wouldn't it be fun to find beef pockets? You cut into that and you're like, what's this?
It's like a donut with custard.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I bit on the end that doesn't have any.
Ben & Jerry's makes fish food ice cream, which has little chocolate fudgy fishes, swirls of caramel, and then marshmallow. And I'm always excited when I hit a caramel deposit, as I like to call it.
I'm excited to find out what kind of beef you have with Mike that you don't have with Val, because they are boyfriend and girlfriend, long-term life partners.
One could even say lovers.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I bet that happens, for sure.
Like when they check in somewhere, they ask if there's a lover's
one
discount.
bed, one bed. Yep.
One bed, but 2 bathrooms. My beef with Mike goes pretty deep because we've discussed it on both times that he's been on this podcast. We've talked about Gremlins 2, the new batch, the novelization. And what I had never read the novelization of Gremlins until he got me into the novelization for the other one. And the novelization of Gremlins has ruined the movie Gremlins for me because they let Gizmo have this giant inner monologue the whole time about how he's a creature from another planet and like, damn you, Mortok, if only you had given me the power of speech
Really?
so that these people could understand. But
my
instead
God.
it's like, Magway. So,
Is the novelization truly canon?
without a doubt.
Okay.
I mean, it's not technically Chris Columbus, but they gave it over to this guy to run with it, and
I
then
thought
they
Gremlins
let him.
was Joe Dante.
He directed it, but Chris
Okay.
Columbus wrote it.
I see. Okay.
And
I did read the novelization of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York,
Did you?
and
Yeah.
Batman Returns.
So here's what's interesting to me is that sometimes they will not allow the person who wrote the first novelization to write the sequels.
Okay.
But sometimes, like I think there's a guy named George Gipe. He did all of the Back to the Futures because they're like, George, you get it. We're going to let you keep going with this. Wait until you see what we got cooked up for the second and third. As we said, our guests today, Mike and Val, they were one of our first handful of guests.
Yeah.
In fact, I enjoy that episode so much that if you enjoy this one, you should go back and listen to it. This episode is coming out on a non-scheduled day.
This is on a Wednesday instead of a Thursday.
So that people can hear this episode and then go watch Riplist at the Fargo Theater. Now, if you're listening to this like in 2020 or 2025, or if you're an alien from another planet, you'll have to seek out Riplist somewhere else.
Usually the stuff that Mike makes will end up on Hulu or some other streaming service eventually.
That's how I watched Wild Bill's Run.
So you'll have plenty of opportunities to catch the Riplist, of which I did some shooting for, JJ.
Oh, look at that.
I have a credit.
Oh, boy. That's exciting for you. Are you going to be going to the big premiere?
I'm going to try to. You and I are both having crazy busy weeks right now.
It's a bad week. So
Bad
why are we even wasting time
Right.
with this? Let's get into this episode. It's really good. You're going to like it. And don't read the novelization of Gremlins. It's bullshit.
JJ Meets World.
Mike and Val, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
It's been almost a year since we last spoke.
Yep, that's true.
Crazy.
And I think a lot about milk. I think about you, Val.
Really?
Think about Val and her milk stories and how
I beg
it
your
works.
pardon.
But this question's up for both of you because Girl Scout cookies just went on sale. Do you have a preference of what Girl Scout cookie you like the most?
Yeah. Well, I like the Samoas, but they don't call them Samoans, but they don't call them
Racist.
anymore. So what are they called?
Caramel Delights.
Did you
I
just
believe.
say
they're
racist?
Yeah, he said racist.
She
It's because it's
literally-
racist. That's why they changed it. I
That
don't
is actually
think,
not
right?
true.
No, what? Oh,
So,
tell us.
The Girl Scouts of America require two separate bakers, one for the western half of the United States and one for the eastern half of the United States. The Girl Scouts do not actually own the recipes to these cookies. So when they added the second baker, they started making Samoas. But then the original company was like, no, we make Samoas. You make something else.
Oh.
And so that's why, depending on where you are in the United States, Girl Scout cookies will be called different things.
What?
So like peanut butter patties versus like do-si doughs, I think is the other name
You
for
should
it.
have a whole show on this. This is fascinating.
I know all the ins and outs.
That's what's
is
happening right
actually-
now.
It's happening in front of your
That's
ears.
why we invited you here.
That's true. Yeah.
So-
no, Caramel Delights, if that's what they go by
That's what
here.
they go
that
by
is
now.
what I like.
We're not here
That
to
is
talk
what I
about your
like.
film. We're
But
here to
wait a
talk
second.
about Girl Scout
Where
cookies.
are they? Are here in Fargo? Are they Caramel Delights?
Yes.
they're Caramel
Okay,
Delights
because
here.
that's what they call them now in Duluth.
Duluth. Yeah, that's what we get.
Yep.
Where's the line?
So,
when do they become
Indiana,
racist?
Maybe
Oh,
Indiana,
that
When did
makes
they
sense.
make
Indiana
it's
East.
Samoa, not Samoan.
Yeah, right, Mike. Jeez,
I'm
you're
not
so
comfortable
sensitive.
with.
You're such a snowflake.
I'm not comfortable with naming like something that I put in my mouth after a nationality. Of
Oh,
people.
really? What's right? Do you
I
think
just-
they're dirty people? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
I
right.
just
That's
think it's-
totally
You wouldn't
right.
take a Samoan in the mouth?
I think it's dehumanizing.
That's really too bad.
I don't. Care
Don't knock
for
it till you
You
try
don't
it.
want
Mike.
that?
I don't care
Yeah,
for
you've
it.
really stepped in it.
Yeah,
It's a
Awkward
you didn't get to
start.
say what your favorite cookie was, Mike.
I'm lactose intolerant, so
Well,
Can't
cookies don't
eat
have
any
milk
of
in them, do they?
Thin mints.
really-
Probably you eat the thin mints because they don't have dairy in
I
them.
think
I
the
don't think.
lemon one doesn't have dairy, and I don't care for the lemon
They make
one.
The,
Pills for
the
lactose
Italian wedding
intolerance.
cookies.
Yeah, they do make pills.
Then you could have
Thanks.
cookies.
Thanks, you're the first person who's ever told me
Well,
that.
then you could have cookies after it, Mike.
He's one
don't-
of these people that doesn't think the pill works for him.
Really? Is
Yeah.
he not? He doesn't trust
pill works.
science.
No,
I
he
don't
doesn't
trust
trust
science.
science.
I don't trust the lactate. I don't trust the morning after pill. I don't trust these mood altering drugs you're always trying to get me on. Forget it.
Isn't it weird that they call the morning after pill Plan B? Like
Well,
what?
I know.
Like why? Who thought
Plan
that was
A
a good?
didn't work.
To me, that's a joke suggestion. Somebody snuck into the box. They're like, let's call it Plan B, and they're like, all right, we're just gonna randomly draw here, and it is Howard's suggestion, Plan B.
but it's perfect because it tells you what it does.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
like you want to roll over in the
It's-
morning and be like Plan B,
Yep. Time for Plan B.
because Plan A we did not execute.
Exactly.
And if I know anything about a good heist movie, Plan B is always where the action's at.
Yeah.
But there's gonna be that moment where you're kind of afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like
Didn't
where
go
things
well.
yeah, you
Yeah.
got one loose cannon. Maybe you're worried
Yeah.
like "Ugh, maybe one of us doesn't approve of Plan B. And then you start to like really your heart palpitates.
Can you think of a heist movie where they lay out the plan
And then
and
they
then
do
they just
the other
do
plan.
the plan
And it goes well.
and it goes well and everyone has a good time and it's fun and they hug?
Yeah, that
Like,
one,
mean-
that Steven Soderbergh one was kind
Ocean's
of like
11.
that.
Yeah, technically
Ocean's
all
Eleven.
of
Ocean's
those-
11 does
the,
really
the
well.
one with Kyle or Adam Driver. That one was kind of like that. But
Oh,
we just
Logan
weren't,
Lucky.
The
we
Last
weren't
Jedi?
totally in on the plan, but it does go according to their
Right.
plan.
yeah.
Logan
well,
Lucky.
I loved Logan
I
Lucky.
love that
Yeah,
movie.
that is a good movie.
Fantastic.
So my sister and I have differing opinions about NASCAR. I am not a NASCAR fan.
no,
Oh,
me
good.
neither.
And
yeah,
my
good.
I was
sister-
about to
Thank
walk
God.
out of this room.
Yeah, my sister thinks NASCAR is kind of fun. So much so that she went to Las Vegas and bought pit tickets so she could be in the center.
What?
And my
that seems
sis-
dangerous.
it drives me nuts because we played apples to apples on Thanksgiving one year, and she was the chooser, and the word was patriotic. And I was like, I got this. I've got eagle, right? So I play eagle. And it gets down to 2, and she's like, I can't decide which is the 2. So we had a rule where like you could flip them over and people can make their case. So she flips over eagle, and I'm like, it's on our money.
I mean,
it's a
of course.
symbol
Of course.
America.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it's our
100%.
national bird.
Yeah.
Then she flips over the other one, and it's friggin' NASCAR.
And she couldn't decide.
And she couldn't decide. She's like, well, I mean, you should see those people are really patriotic. And I was like,
It's
in the wrong
full
way.
patriotism.
Full disclosure, though, I would far rather go to a NASCAR than play apples to apples.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
there's
do
that.
not like apples to
I
apples.
absolutely hate apples to apples with a passion.
Every time I play apples to apples, it's
It
a
ends in a
reminder that
fight.
every other person shares nothing in common with me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't look at the world the way anyone else does. And I feel sad and lonely, and I just want to go away.
And I
Yeah.
feel the same about Cards Against Humanity, which is
I was just
effectively
going to
the
say
same.
Mike doesn't like
Yeah,
that
It's
either.
the same
He
game.
feels
It's so
the same way
it's
about
it's
that.
okay.
Yeah.
It's not putting two things next to each other doesn't automatically make it funny. And that's the whole premise is let's put this thing next to that thing and oh, how funny is that? Then we put those two things together.
It's a sex act. Ha ha ha.
Have you played
funny.
Joking Hazard?
No.
So it's from the people who do Cyanide and Happiness, and you're making a 3-panel cartoon. So you flip over 2 panels, and then from your hand, you play what the 3rd panel should be.
That makes more sense to me.
That
Right.
seems fun.
And so there's, you know, because you're telling a story. You know,
Yeah,
you're trying
yeah,
to
yeah.
finalize a story.
Yeah.
It also is very sexual and crude, but boy, is it a lot of fun.
Yeah.
My first
See-
my first day of the new job when I started last year, and I walk into the very first you go through training and stuff, and so me and all these new hires are in this room, and the first thing I see is they go, "Okay, guys, everyone pick 3 apples to apples cards,"
Oh, God. No.
and you were supposed to pick 3 that said something about you. So I did. I can't remember what I picked.
Oh, God. I was hoping
then-
you'd have 3 really
No.
amazing
Like,
things
no,
that
no,
you'd
no. Like
remember
the-
what you picked.
The instructions card for how to play the game.
But then they had us go back in about 2 weeks ago for that new hire class. Be like, hey, let's just recap how everyone's doing. And so they had us do it again. And I was late. I showed up late. And so they said, you got to pick 3 apples to apples cards. Just dig through and find 3 that this lady was like, dig through and find 3 that work for you. And if she was you, I went like this.
Just
I just first 3 random ones. And then I didn't even look at them until it was my turn to read it. And then I made each one work. And they loved it. They
You're
thought it was
both
great.
so filled with anger. I don't think
Yeah.
you're getting the point of these games.
No, we get it. The
It's
point
about
is that it's a
human
stupid bad
interaction.
game and you
It's
shouldn't
not
play
about,
it.
Oh, no. I'll tell you
it's
the
not
point.
about the mechanics of the game. It's about human interaction.
No. The point is to put you in a box and keep you there for the rest of your employment. That's what these icebreakers do. They determine on day 1, Tucker's this kind of person. Let's always think of him as that kind of person. I hate these icebreakers.
do you guys know how
Not
much a
on that
polar bear
note.
weighs?
How much
sorry,
a
what was
Do you
polar
know
bear?
how much a polar bear weighs?
That sounds way better than whatever we're talking about.
I would like to
They
know.
weigh enough to break the ice. My name's JJ Gordon. How's it going?
I do have a polar bear related question.
Oh, please.
That I
Yeah.
like to, you know, I don't like to go to parties very much, but when I do, I like to ask people this question to start an argument.
Oh, no.
Who would win
Don't do it,
in a
Mike.
fight? A polar bear or a gorilla?
Oh, I think a polar bear.
Interesting.
Where are they? Where are
Mike
they
and I
fighting
are on
at?
opposite ends of the
it's fun.
spectrum.
It's fun to talk about that.
Gymnasium.
You must
Just
be
put
a
them in a
gorilla
gymnasium.
You
person.
have,
I am a
to, you
gorilla
have to
person.
find some place, you know, to make it fair. You have to find a neutral ground. So
I
it
have
can't
a
be too cold. It
completely
can't be too
logical
hot.
argument.
Right.
What do
Why
you think,
it's
Tucker?
gorilla.
I think it's going to be a gorilla
Yeah,
more than
right?
likely. Although it has its work cut out for it because not having the teeth and claws of a polar bear
Right.
is a big disadvantage.
Polar bear is an apex predator. However, gorillas are very spry, and it
Right.
could just jump on its back and like break its neck. That's what I feel like would
right,
happen there.
Right, and they have higher cognitive ability. They're
Exactly.
stronger. They're
Yep.
freakishly stronger.
Freakish, yeah,
And
freakish.
I think they're faster too. They
Yep.
have more maneuverability. So I think in the end, I'm probably going to give it to the gorilla with the caveat that, you know, it being a fight, it could go either way.
Right.
You know,
But look at how many different creatures King Kong beats,
Right.
and there's your proof.
right.
King
That's a very
Kong
good point.
beats every other type of, massive monster creature.
You could argue that he fought to a draw with Godzilla.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
Godzilla
he
stands
does.
upright.
Also-
That's a little different. I mean, polar bears can, but they don't walk around naturally like
Right, but
that.
gorillas are
Size-wise-
also not a building
I was
size.
gonna say size-wise, the polar bear will also always be larger
Yeah.
than the gorilla.
Yes.
Neil
That's-
deGrasse Tyson says that it's always going to be the polar bear because mass always
Yep.
beats
Have
everything
you
else.
seen what
Has been
global
my
warming has been
argument.
doing to these polar bears, though? They've been
They're
they're getting
scrawny.
really
Yeah,
skinny.
they are
Yeah.
skinny.
Yeah.
But
you're right. The average polar bear is going to weigh 2 or 3 times what the gorilla. So then you have to rely on the gorilla's intelligence
and
which
dexterity.
seems like a lot.
Well,
I'm glad I have a
Yeah,
Another
I'm with
person.
you.
But
I'm
you
with
guys
at
are
the table
both
that-
wrong. I think JJ is right. I think it's the polar bear.
I think it's simply because the polar bear has that locking jaw, and if you take out one appendage of the gorilla, his stats have gone down greatly.
Yeah.
I mean, huge, big time.
Yeah, what's he going to do?
Now,
Limp around.
If they're in an area where he gets to swing around and he can have the high ground for a majority of it, that gorilla is really going to give that polar bear a run for his money, and he possibly has that opportunity. Secondly, I like that you think in Planet of the Apes terms, where he's going to get on and know how to snap the neck.
Yeah, but
100%.
at the same time, though, apes do go to war.
yeah. They
Although
fight
it's,
each
it's,
other.
it's chimpanzees that we've seen that with,
Right.
but I wouldn't be surprised if a gorilla's got to have that in there somehow
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
And that kind of bloodlust it takes for an animal to be like, I'm going to kill you because I hate you.
Right,
It's
right,
usually not
right.
why they kill you. It's because they're scared or they are
Yeah.
hungry or whatever.
Yeah.
But if they're like,
Yeah.
nope, we're just going to kill you because we're murder beings, then I think that does
Yeah.
give an advantage to the ape.
I have a question, not similar, but the idea and concept that I ask at parties, and I'd like to pose it to you.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'm ready.
You are a scientist heading to Earth 2, and you're in charge of packing the last space shuttle. There's a space problem, though. And I don't mean space like outer space. I mean
there's a big space
spatially.
problem.
Yeah, there's not
yeah,
a lot of room
yeah.
in the shuttle. Okay.
You have a vial that contains the genetic information for lemons and a vial that has the genetic information for limes. And there's only one little Jurassic Park-like vial cooler left.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
which
yeah.
do you doom Earth 2 to no longer having, lemons or limes?
to no longer having. I'm going to take the vial for the limes.
I'm with you.
I'm taking limes too.
Yeah.
I think I'll take lemons.
Are you just being a
That was my gut reaction
was your
when I
gut
That's
heard
what I
it.
want.
Yeah.
I thought lemons.
Because you love lemon stuff? Like you could
Yeah.
never imagine a world without lemon bars?
Yeah, I think I love lemons. I love lemon heads. I don't know why they're called that, but I love them. And I think one of the most disgusting inventions ever are those corn chips with the lime salt
Oh,
on them.
Mike,
that's-
It's
you're
wrong.
disgusting.
That's
No, I-
your
And I know
I'm
wrong.
with
there are
you
a lot
on
of
that.
good uses of lime. I like limes, but like I can't think of a bad use of
But
lemon.
you need lime for Fruit Loops to really have its flavor. You really, really do. And lime goes amazing in a Pepsi.
Oh yeah, lime goes with every soda.
Yeah,
I think
really
pretty
well.
much.
Really, really well.
And I mean, my favorite cocktail is a mojito, and you can't make that without lime.
There's
so
some
there
good
you go.
lime beers too, and limeritas and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mike's a teetotaler, so he doesn't
Yeah, he
have
doesn't
any
know.
of that.
most people tell me
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine eating fish without a
See,
squirt of lemon
I
on
thought
top
that
of
was
it.
going to be Mike's answer
Yeah,
because you're a
that's-
big fish eater. You
yeah.
love eating fish.
yeah, I'm a big fish head.
That kind of
Yeah.
sounds like a insult you just said. Mike's a big old fish eater.
He's a big fish eater.
I don't mean it like that. I enjoy fish.
You know who else are big fish eaters? Polar bears.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
true.
Are they?
Yeah.
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 I love
Yeah.
them.
Salmon. No, that's
Yeah.
that's regular
That's grizzly
bears.
bears,
That's
but
Kodiak
polar
bears.
bears eat mostly seals, Mike.
Seals. Seals.
I think
and
they
I was just
probably
trying to
eat
bring it
fish,
back
but
to
they
polar bears,
mostly
you guys.
bring.
I just
I
like
don't think they'd
talking
turn
about
down
them.
a fish.
No,
They
I'm
wouldn't
sure they
turn down
would.
a fish.
Which do you think a polar bear would eat first, a lemon or a lime?
Oh. A lemon.
Think so?
I think so.
Sticking with his narrative. That's all that is.
This is my
Lemons and
answer.
polar bears.
Polar bears.
You know, I'm really surprised that conversations like this didn't come across when you were making your film that we are here to talk about today.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
you
that's right.
mean like being eaten by
No,
a
I mean,
polar bear?
You know, there's death involved with that. And the whole point,
yeah.
it seems to me, of the Riplist is to argue and debate over who is most likely to die. And that seems very similar to me to, does this or that win in a fight?
Yeah,
For me as a
it's-
kid, it was always Superman and the Hulk. You always ask. And I think it's Superman.
I think
still.
it's the Hulk.
I think it's Superman. And Superman has beat the Hulk a few times.
This could be a whole other podcast because I have real problems with Superman. I find him to be a completely boring superhero because of the fact that he's sort of invulnerable and just, I don't know.
But
I think
also
it's,
that rocks
it's less
are the
interesting.
things
I mean,
that hurt
he
him.
has kryptonite as
Yeah,
a
just a
vulnerability.
rock.
But yeah,
but,
right.
But Hulk is strongest one there is. Am I wrong?
I think it depends on if, I mean, as we've seen in the latest Avengers movies, like sometimes Hulk doesn't want to come out.
Yeah,
Right.
Sometimes Hulk is hiding.
I don't. So Hulk always rises to the challenge. He grows stronger with anger, but also stronger to meet whatever
Do
challenge.
we really want to live in a world, though, where the mightiest hero is just really pissed off?
He also
and
has
angry all the time?
vulnerabilities, though,
Right.
that Superman could easily exploit. Like, Superman could chuck him into outer space, and that'd be it.
Right. Yeah.
Hulk wouldn't have anything to fight against that.
No.
Superman can live in space and breathe fine.
I think the Hulk would evolve into a rock, and he would come back to Earth as an asteroid and hit Superman.
Another one is Obi-Wan Kenobi from A New Hope and Gandalf from Fellowship. I have my answer.
Okay, so
I bet I know what your answer. I bet we agree.
elderly Obi-Wan
Yes.
versus Gandalf.
Gandalf the Grey.
I think Gandalf wins that one.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I
I
think
the Force ain't no magic, Tucker. Like,
well, but his
It binds us. It surrounds us.
right. And if you take Obi-Wan in his physical form, he will become more powerful than you can ever imagine. So I think he could Force ghost
I don't
himself.
know.
Let me ask you.
Can he
who
talk
has
to
the
moths?
higher ground?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt that, but it's funny. You mentioned the higher ground earlier with the
It's
polar bear
important.
and the gorilla.
It's important.
And instantly, Obi-Wan came into my brain.
Right.
And then like 5 minutes later, you
Here-
bring up
here it
Obi-Wan.
comes.
It's over. I've got the high ground.
I've been thinking about the higher ground, you guys, for like 10 straight minutes.
You know who taught me about why the high ground was most important?
Obi-Wan.
No,
Iron Man
even
2?
before. No,
Who?
even before that. Ernest P. Worrell in Ernest Scared Stupid, where they've got the treehouse, and he talks about we've got the high ground, we've got the high ground, and that's how they beat the trolls because they went the high ground.
Classic reference.
Was Ernest a Jedi?
Oh my God, he might be.
Yeah.
He might
Teaching
be.
younglings.
Oh, no.
Oh,
no.
younglings.
No, he's not. Never mind. You want to say that filthy
Maybe.
word in this podcast,
Maybe.
Judy. You take it outside.
No.
You take that outside.
You take those
Mike
younglings outside.
loves using younglings. Just
Younglings.
dropping it in every conversation possible. Oh.
I do love the younglings.
So let's
Yeah.
get to
Sorry,
the real
we-
subject.
We,
of
yeah,
this.
we,
I
we
know, this is
keep
fun.
diverging. You're not a
He
very
was
good
hard
promoter
work.
of
I've
this,
got a
Mike.
better intro for
trying
him.
to hard right into
yeah.
it.
Thank you.
One of my all-time favorite Saturday Night Live sketches is Dana Carvey, and he is playing Tom Brokaw, and he is recording all of the potential deaths
Yes.
that could happen to President Jimmy Carter,
Yep.
so that he can take the summer off.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And so it's Gerald Ford. He goes, former President Gerald Ford died today. And then they're like, former President Gerald Ford is attacked by wolves.
Yeah.
And then it ends up with, former President Gerald Ford died today and I'm gay.
Yeah.
And they're like,
It's
he
so
goes, I
good.
know that's not real. He's like, we got it. What happens? I mean, you want us to get scooped on that?
You got to cover it all.
And so to me, I love that sketch because it's true. We are always thinking about like, okay, so, you know, what's the two inevitabilities in life? Taxes and death.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you now have a documentary that's having its world premiere at the Fargo Film Festival.
It is the world
Oh,
premiere.
that's exciting.
It's exciting because most of the people who are in the film are from Fargo.
And it's called Riplist.
It's called Riplist. So they're going to be at the premiere.
Oh, that's exciting.
So that just makes me happy.
So give us the details without giving away pivotal plot
ends.
points.
Well, I won't tell you who wins, but it's a contest. It's 7 people. They get together once a year, and then they draft like elderly presidents and ailing musicians and other people who might die in the next year. And whoever gets the most dead people right, they win. I mean, they
it's-
don't win anything other than
So
a trophy.
straight like
They're not-
January 1st to midnight December 31st. That is the time window that they have to get as many correct as possible.
And they don't get to add other people to the list throughout the year, right?
No.
They don't. No. So each of the 7 people, actually it's up to 9 now. They've added a few members. They pick 15 people. The number
5
one.
of them are alternates. There are a lot of rules, but we don't get too into that in the
The
documentary.
rules gave me a headache.
Yeah.
They have a lot of rules. But guess who the number one pick is for this current calendar year for 2019?
Oh shoot! I mean, I'm trying to remember because I would have been there for the.
So you weren't there for this last one.
No, you weren't there for this last one. were
They
you?
did.
No.
They've done one since we shot it.
Yeah.
So we shot
Okay.
their draft. We shot their draft a year ago and then 2 years ago.
got it. Okay.
And those
Yep.
are in the movie, but they just did one about a month ago that we didn't shoot. So
'Cause they always do the draft like just prior to the end of the year.
yeah. So,
yeah.
just like December
Right around
30th,
Christmas.
2017, the number one pick for 2018 was John McCain,
Okay.
which came to pass. The number one pick for this year was Olivia Newton-John.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. That hurt. That hurts.
However, it's interesting because she knew there were all these rumors going around about her potential, demise,
health.
and
Right.
she put up like an Instagram post of herself and was like, "Hey, everybody, I'm alive and I'm
Yep.
doing okay." So trying to, kind of ward off all the gossip.
But I think like
But I
in
don't know
late-
what to believe.
Well, yeah, and in late December, it was all these rumors that she
Right,
was,
that she was
doing
at
really
death's door.
poorly, and I
Yeah.
think that post came out after the draft.
did, yeah.
So you're sort of reacting to I don't think any of the 7 or 9 people, however many it is, I don't think any of them have insider information.
Oh, that's
They
not
just
true.
know what we know.
They-
Maybe
yeah.
they're monitoring
Right. I was going to
someone
say,
a
they
little
don't
closer.
have insider information, but they monitor it and they're doing some heavy duty research. Like some of them are at
Yeah.
least.
So they've invited Val and I to participate in the draft next year. I
yes.
said I didn't
Yes.
feel like I could do it while I was making and editing the documentary.
You don't want to be a part of the story.
It felt,
Right.
it felt wrong to me.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of ethics as a documentarian, but that did feel like it was crossing
That's
the
true.
line.
This guy has no scruples
That's
whatsoever.
that's true. And so I think we're going to probably join next year. But like I just heard, the comic book artist George Perez.
Yep.
He just announced he was retiring. He's not going to be doing any more signings at conventions. He said, I may still do a few sketches. But I mean, this is a guy who's been prolific, top of the industry. So I heard that, and that's the kind of thing like I'm assuming that they're hearing and then writing these things down. But
I would
think
not be surprised if Madeline blocks that as not famous enough.
that was my next thought. At first I was like, okay, if I play next year, I've got this name because I heard this little story and I bet no one else will hear it. But yeah, is George Perez famous enough? Do you guys know who George Perez was?
No.
I mean, Tucker and I know, but we are, comic book fans.
There's so many people on their list though that I heard that I was like, I don't know who that person
Yeah,
is.
me
I
too.
haven't heard of like 75% of the people on their list because they're doing a lot of sports figures that I've never heard of.
It feels like if someone has a Wikipedia page that they didn't make, right?
Right.
That seems that would be enough for me to go. They are a person of note.
Right.
Yep.
They are a person of celebrity status on some level.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
It seems like would you say it's true to call Madeline the unofficial commissioner of the Riplist?
Yes.
Yes, Madeline. He doesn't like to be called the commissioner, but
Yeah.
he is sort of the guy who I think cares the most about it,
Right.
and cares the most about the rules. So he ends up being the commish.
One of my favorite things is I like to, when a celebrity dies that I feel really akin to, I give them a good night, sweet prince.
A GNSP.
On Facebook.
nice.
And then like a little note about something about the afterworld.
Yeah.
So Dick Miller got one recently.
Love Dick Miller.
Character actor Dick Miller.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is to post that and then go to Matt O'Lean's Facebook page and see if he's posted about this person passing away. And if I beat him, I have pride in that.
You scooped him on Stan Lee, right?
I scooped him on
What?
Stanley. Yes. But I had insider information on that one though. I got a direct email from someone at TMZ telling me about it.
Wow.
You did?
That's
I did.
exciting.
I did. And they said, we're just about, this is getting
Yeah,
posted right now. And so I'm like, is this confirmed? Because like CNN isn't touching on it. And they're like, it's confirmed.
So you have a
Wow.
TMZ source as part of your day job.
Yeah.
That
Wow,
you've got
cool.
a source there who keys you in on
And I'll tell you what.
hot deaths.
I have included them in like several like news briefs that we've put out, and they feel what they're doing, at least some of it, is actual journalism. And so I'm like, yeah, I agree. If you guys are getting the scoop on something,
Yeah.
like you're getting the scoop on it.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So
Right.
it doesn't matter if it's coming from like the Connecticut, like, knitting press or if it's coming from TMZ or CNN.
You
Like,
should get a
Yeah.
job at
Still a scoop.
TMZ, Mike. I mean, they have zero scruples, just like you.
Yeah.
I was just gonna ask what you guys think because I think we're a nerd to the whole concept of the Riplist. Like we just are so on board, and we've spent a couple years now immersed in that environment. And Tucker, you helped with the movie a little bit, but what is your
He
guys'
helped a lot. I just want to
yeah,
set
he
the
helped a
record
lot
straight.
actually. Yeah. What is your guys' feeling on it? Like, are you instantly kind of like, ooh, this is in poor taste and gross?
Oh, it
quite the
it is
opposite.
Oh, good.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Every
I get
minute
that a
of
I guess
it.
lot.
we don't agree.
Because we
I
do
get that a
worry
lot.
about that a
No.
little bit.
But
I think that there's a morbid curiosity to it
Right.
as well. Like,
Yeah.
how many times have you said, like, oh, I thought that person was dead? Mm-hmm. And so to me, that plays into that same thing of like, well, that's not very respectful either.
Right.
Yep.
And also, in a way, it's honoring this person because they're famous enough for you care about whether or not they live through the next year.
Right.
Now, if you're, John McCain's family, you probably don't like the fact that you're part of an office
betting pool, essentially.
like
yeah.
to see whether
Yeah.
they're going to live or die.
Right.
So I would gladly participate if I was ever invited, right? But like I wouldn't walk up to like Angela Lansbury's like niece and be like, I got your mom on my death list, or I got your,
Right.
your aunt on my death list.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I contacted a few of the celebrities who were picked. And I mean, I'm contacting like their people,
Yeah,
not them.
yeah,
I don't have
yeah.
Angela Lansbury's phone number, unfortunately.
Oh, I wish I
and I
did.
only heard back from Norman Lloyd's son.
Really?
Yeah, and he was so sweet. And after I got that message back, I was like, I'm not going to contact any more celebrities. It was just like, he was like, well, what an interesting project. That
Right.
sounds really, really neat.
No, I am quite the opposite. Actually, I think it's great. I have zero issue with it, but I also have zero issue with most things.
Yeah.
Like my level of being offended is it's not easy to get there with me.
Well, I think it also depends. Like we've run into it where people who've had a recent death, like of someone close to them, have a much harder time. I
Right.
think.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like it just depends on kind of where you're at in
Right.
life at that particular moment. But yeah, I don't know. We did a test screening and it was very awkward because we played like right after a documentary about a guy who had served in Iraq
Yeah.
and
Oh,
came
yeah.
back with like crippling PTSD.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
we watched this, and then even worse, that Iraqi war veteran was there to talk about the short film. And then
Right.
he gets up there and he's like,
Yep.
it's very heavy and serious. And it was kind of a small group at this test screening. And we're just like, oh, God, now they're going to
Well-
play our movie, which is basically just like, so-and-so died.
Right, but you're
and
not
this
doing that
guy's like
about-
agonizing over all these people in a war zone.
Right.
But he watched the movie, and afterward he was just like, that was outstanding. And he just
Yeah.
loved it.
I would think that soldiers in particular would actually be totally down with it.
He loved
because if
it,
you're
yeah.
someone who has actually faced death
Right.
Every day as part of your job, you understand the need for gallows humor.
Yeah.
You understand the need for taking the kick and the sting out of it a little bit. And I think that's what something like the Riplist is doing. It's different if you are going up to the grieving family, right?
Right.
Versus,
Right.
I mean, maybe John McCain's family wouldn't have liked it, but they also didn't like all the things Trump said about him while he was alive,
Right,
and a lot
yeah,
of the things
that's
he
true.
himself
Yeah,
did,
right, yeah.
with his first wife and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
once you achieve a certain level of public, I don't want to say necessarily notoriety, but exposure,
Yeah.
then it's fair game.
Yep.
If
Yeah.
you want to be on the tip of my mind every day, then that means that your death will also be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
true.
when you become that level of celebrity, death is a very personal thing for your loved ones, right? And you're right. Their death is taken away from you because there are other people who are mourning
Yeah,
who've
that's
maybe
true.
never met them, and they're dealing with whatever way, or they're just going on the internet and being like, "Oh, that dude is a dick," like things that you wouldn't normally say about, let's say, if your grandmother passed away. Like
Right.
no one's going online and tweeting about how Mama Luke sucked, glad she's
Let me-
gone.
Let me
Although I will
just for fun, I'm gonna go on Twitter right now.
Although I will say, and this will probably offend some people, but when Jerry Falwell died, Christopher Hitchens went on TV and said probably one of my favorite interviews about a terrible person who has now died. And he's like, yeah, he was a toad.
Yeah.
He just didn't say, he's like, why should I say something nice about him just because he's no longer here?
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of it is, I think we want to protect the feelings of our fellow human beings because we don't want to be jerks.
Right.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Right.
But at the same time, just because someone is now dead, even though they can't respond to you or defend themselves, that isn't enough to deify them either.
Yeah.
And they should still be, if their life was worthy of criticism, it was still worthy of criticism, even though it no longer continues.
Right. Yeah.
I'm very interested in the pseudoscience that these people have created to choose their picks.
Right.
Because I imagine it's not just sort of like looking at like, well, gosh, you know, who won an Academy Award 60 years ago who's probably, you know, the clock is ticking.
Yeah.
There must be some serious work that goes into each choice.
So there is some of that looking at, you know, Academy Award winners who are still alive or Baseball Hall of Famers who are still alive. That I think is a starting place for a lot of them. But one of their favorite things to do is look at the National Enquirer and then you add about 2 to 5 years. So
National
you look at
Enquirer's
today's
always
National
gonna
Enquirer,
be
and it's got you know,
full of
the sad
hyperbole
last days
about-
of Cher or the sad last days of Bill Clinton. Well,
Sad last days.
Cher may die in about 5 years.
Yeah.
I think you just you put that in the back of your brain and you think, okay.
So I'm curious about things like, you know, for this year, because you've got a chance to see the 2019 list, right?
Yep.
yes.
Did Bill Cosby pop up on there?
Oh, now that he's in Gen
Now
Pop.
that he's in, I like, to me, like, is that going to be
Heard
the
that.
thing that, like,
I thought to myself, like, that dude's toast. Like,
me too.
he's being added to just regular criminals. I mean, we all know child molesters and people who are
Right.
rapey do not go over well
Yeah.
in a general prison population thing.
and the most recent statement of like he's doing amazing and he's learning so much and he stopped eating
Yeah,
bread.
he's a real political prisoner.
And I want
Yeah.
to be like, oh boy. But to me, you know, that's the type of thing
Plus,
where
It's a
if you're
good choice.
in for life and you could make a name for yourself, like shiving Bill Cosby,
Right.
like you're probably gonna
Yeah.
do it. Like, right? What
Yeah.
would be the downfall on that one?
and then he write the book.
Well, your humanity.
You know?
Exactly.
I literally canceled the Cosby Show.
I don't usually go, I wonder if that person will die, but I do now go, I wonder if that person will now be exposed as a sexual predator.
Oh,
For-
you mean
for
oh,
sure.
yeah,
Just in
like-
general,
yeah,
with celebrities.
Right.
Oh, I
Right.
think it all the time.
I think it all the time
Me
now.
too.
And I have
Yeah.
been proven right way too many times for comfort.
You and I had this conversation
Yep.
about who are we dreading that may
Neil
come
deGrasse
out.
Tyson
and Neil
was the
deGrasse
one
Tyson
Yeah.
came
we
up,
talked about.
And you
And
were
then he
like,
came
I would
out.
not doubt it one bit. And then it's like,
Called
oh
it.
no.
Called
You did
it.
call it.
Yep.
You did
I mean, is
call
that
it.
the sequel to Riplist? You
I
know,
wonder
See-
if anyone is
Who out
doing
there is
that.
That I would
predator?
actually, I think I would actually have a moral problem with that though, because
It's
now
creepy.
because there
Oh,
are victims
yeah.
alive in the world,
Right,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, there's
like
no
that.
Well, and also
That's
if
what
you're
it takes to
naming
offend
people
Tucker
who've
Lucas.
done nothing.
Yeah. Oh,
that's the
We crossed
benchmark.
the line.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Just dying from natural causes, no. But like
Yeah.
if someone has been
Not all these
assaulted,
people die from natural causes.
Yeah, have you seen the movie Deadpool with Clint Eastwood? That's
That's true.
And Liam
Yeah.
Neeson.
I thought you meant Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
No, sorry, different Deadpool. There's a Clint Eastwood, Liam Neeson film
Right.
around celebrity
A
death
celebrity
pools.
death pool.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, they each have like a different strategy that they employ. Like I know Matt O'Lean, he tries to pick about half elderly and half sick people. So
Well, that's because they have a rule that if there's a tie, the person with the lowest average age takes it.
right. So you
So
want
they have things like that in place.
if Shannon Doherty is going to die, or
that
Selena
could be a
Gomez,
big boon for someone if their age is really low.
Yeah, you'd have a lower average age,
Yeah.
and that would be good for
You
your
pick
life.
like you pick like 10 98-year-olds and then like 2, Ariana
30-year-olds.
Grande or whoever,
Yeah.
and then like
what's
you get
Ariana
one of those,
Grande?
and man,
What?
it just you're well,
Yeah.
I don't know,
So-
just picking young celebrities.
It's one death is 1 point, essentially,
Right,
right?
yeah, exactly.
And so whoever
In
has the
their-
most points
in their pool,
in
yeah.
their
Right,
pool.
yes.
But a lot of other pools will do it. We talked about a little bit about this in the
There's
movie.
a dark world of
There's a
celebrity
dark world
death
online. You
pool
can
out
go
there.
online. Like if you had picked Paul Walker at age 40, you probably would have gotten like 1 billion points for that because
Or
he-
$1 million because you
get-
can bet on this for real with like
Yeah.
bookies and point systems and
So
everything.
if you pick like a young celebrity who wasn't sick and they die in something like a car accident, you can get a ton of extra points. But then they also will rank people on fame. And that gets really subjective, and so this particular group just doesn't want any part of that. But
Well, they
ironically,
already have to debate.
they spend so much of each draft arguing about who is famous enough to be in the draft.
Right.
And that kind of became like a huge part of the movie that really entertained me because one of the players, Travis Jensen, keeps picking really unfamous people.
Doesn't he
I
pick like
just
former
love
heads
him.
of state of countries
No,
and
he
yeah.
stuff?
picks like or
Yeah.
really obscure like Indian movie stars that nobody.
Well,
But
he
that's not that
picked-
obscure. But
well,
you know,
he picked
yeah,
like Claire
that kind of thing.
Hollingsworth, the journalist who broke the story of
Yeah.
World War II. Yeah, are you saying that because you
No, like
know who she is?
yeah, like
Yeah.
so. But but only because that was covered on the History Channel maybe like
Yeah.
a week ago.
Okay.
And see, but
So like I'm dumbfounded that you brought that up.
Yeah.
But see, Travis would say, "Look, she is famous. She did something noteworthy,
Right.
And just because she's not on the
A
tip of any of
household name.
our tongues, that doesn't
Yeah.
mean she wasn't famous. Like his point is, there's so many different avenues for fame now. There's in New
he's got a point.
Zealand, rugby
Yeah.
players are incredibly famous, and
Yeah.
we don't know them here. But he picked a rugby player a year or two ago.
Or I was thinking cricket players. He's big on
Yeah.
picking Indian cricket players, which
I don't
are
know if that's
those people are
true,
super
but
famous.
That's somebody they
Right.
would argue about,
Right,
for sure.
exactly. That's who
yeah.
they would
It is a
argue
bit
about,
provincial to say that you have to be USA famous to be
Right.
famous.
Exactly,
Right.
because
For
all
sure.
Right.
7 or 9, all the players are Americans.
Yeah.
They're middle aged. A lot of them are men.
Yeah,
so
there's
they
only
sort
one
of
woman on the
recognize
group.
that they get a very narrow
Yeah.
sort of view of what fame is. So we kind of dig into that a lot in the film, which actually kind of surprised me. It was kind of fun
Yeah.
to talk about what even constitutes fame. Like I started a Twitter feed just to just to sort of do what you do with the Dick Miller, just sort of commemorate their death, say a little something about them, and it's actually been really fun because James Ingram died a couple of weeks ago.
Fun.
No, wait, let me finish my thought. I'm sorry to James Ingram's family. Yeah, but I have never in my life thought about James Ingram. Ever.
That's
like
getting better
I
now.
didn't see I didn't
Nice,
I've
Mike.
never actually
to
watched
kick a
all
person
of
when
an
they're
American.
down.
Oh my god, let me finish, you guys. American Tail. He
Listen.
sings the
with Linda Ronstadt, the pop version at the end.
Exactly.
When I had my first major breakup, I had my first drop of alcohol and locked myself in a room and listened to that song on
Yes.
repeat for 2 days.
So-
So that death messed with me big time.
I had no idea how much I loved James Ingram until he died. And I made a little Photoshop of Fievel on his shoulder, and I posted that on Twitter, and it got like a bunch of likes, which makes me feel good because I'm a base reptile creature. But also, then I started listening to James Ingram songs like nonstop. I'd never cared about James Ingram. I'm sorry again to James
There's
Ingram's
a really
family.
important question here, though, that we're dancing around.
So anyway, I'm a huge fan of James Ingram now.
Right.
What's the question?
American Tail or Fievel Goes West?
Well, again, I haven't seen either one in their entirety.
This is a real sticking point between
Val,
JJ.
Sorry,
I'm-
I
I'm
actually
sorry.
haven't watched either of those films.
So,
either.
full disclosure,
I'm so
we're
sorry.
we're recording this before the film festival, but when you guys are in town for the film festival, I'd like you to take 4 hours, and I will
Just
have
watch
you
it.
over
We'll
to
do
the,
it
the
before
home.
then. We'll do it.
We can
good.
watch it.
I
We
bet
can
we
watch
could
it.
find
You can't
those
be in
on
the room to
VHS
influence
somewhere.
them.
Yeah.
No, but
Do we
I
own
will watch
those?
both of them. You don't want to watch both of them?
We-
I'd watch
We have
them.
And I will-
clamshell
Let's
I will
go
VHS.
get,
keep
let's go
myself
get them
going.
on VHS. Wow, this movie must be great. JJ's really having a
I
good
feel
time.
like we
Really?
shouldn't tell them our preferences.
No.
So you have
No,
a preference
because
between
we
the
need
two.
to weigh in
Yeah.
independently. We
This
don't
is like
wanna
our
be
polar bear
tainted.
conversation of earlier today. There is some serious
This
disagreement.
is like
between
Lady
You
in
guys
the Water
watch
level.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine because they often make
do.
references to American Tail and Fievel Goes West.
They
I
do.
want to get
I
those
think it's your
references a little
generation.
better.
I think you're the Andy Samberg generation. It must have been
Please
like,
don't say that.
well, I love
she
Andy
means
Samberg.
you're
What's
about
not,
his
what's-
age.
Yeah, you're about
more.
his age.
He's a bit younger than
and
us, I think.
he talks about in Brooklyn. I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
it's more. Maybe we're too old. That's
the
why
Don
we weren't
Bluth
big on
cartoon
it.
movie. Yeah, the Don Bluth cartoons are definitely our generation.
Yeah. I learned about death from watching A Land Before Time.
Yep.
Yeah.
All dogs
I
go to
learned
heaven.
from
was
Bambi.
I
rough.
haven't. The only
See,
one I
I'm
saw
old.
in the theater was The Secret of Nim, which I love. I love that. But then I sort of aged out of the cartoons. I became an
Anastasia,
adult.
Fern Gully.
I haven't seen any of those.
Don
Well,
Titan AE. Like
I
Titanic.
haven't seen Fern Gully so much that I didn't even watch Avatar. Like I haven't
That's
seen either of
exactly
those.
what I said when we left Avatar.
That it was Fern Gully. I've
I was
heard
like,
that.
son of a bitch, he just stole the whole premise. The only thing that's missing is Tim Curry. I was like,
haven't
I
seen
liked it
either
more.
of
In
them.
fact, I just recently saw my review of Avatar from Facebook, which was like, Avatar is fine, but I liked it more when I first saw it, and it was called Fern Gully.
Nice.
This is blowing my mind.
Take that, James Cameron.
I have been trying to get Mike to sit and watch Avatar since the movie came out,
Such a
and he
garbage movie.
refuses.
It
he
is
will not
garbage.
watch it.
So
Absolute
I
garbage.
I
have
know
watched-
it's garbage, but I don't know.
So she
I'm
made
not
me.
saying I'm a huge proponent. I just think it's one of those cultural touchstones that if you haven't seen it, you're somehow missing out on just society in general. I don't know.
I've
I feel
Just
the
tried
same
to
way about
watch it
the
twice.
50 Shades of Grey movies.
I've never seen those. Is there a
I've read the
moment
books, unfortunately.
in 50 Shades of Grey when someone is like tied up with unobtainium? Because if that happened, I would turn it off right there. Both times I've watched Avatar, I get to
You've
the
not
word
watched it.
unobtainium,
And
which
then
is
you
like
quit.
10, 15 minutes in,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I'm out. Come on. Go through your script a second time
Yeah.
and think of a better name.
Papyrus font. That's all I got to say.
Oh my
Papyrus
God.
font.
That was
Here's
like
the
one of
thing
the
with
best
amazing
SNL sketches
SNL
of all
skit.
It
time.
is
Yes.
incredible.
Can I ask you guys a question?
Sure.
Are people really clamoring for 5 sequels to Avatar?
No.
So much so that
Nobody
more
is.
than a decade later, people are like, oh man, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, we're going to get all these back to back. Nobody gives a crap.
I don't even think that movie's aged well.
No,
like
it
I
hasn't.
think when you go watch it now, you're like, yeah, what was the fuss about? It's just it's so strange to me.
People were reporting depression because they didn't actually live on whatever that planet was.
Pandora.
Pandora. I wanted to be tall blue people that look
Yeah.
fake, and
I'm gonna let you in on some inside baseball that
Yeah,
a movie
what?
theater manager let me know recently.
Uh-huh.
So Alita Battle Angel
Yes.
is in theaters right now.
Right.
And they're using a new 3D engine that's being
What?
tested in this movie
For the Avatar.
for the Avatar movies. And so they're so much so that they're paying these movie theater companies to offer bonuses and concessions deals to fill those theaters so that they can get people's reaction right away, like with 3D. Like, could you tell us about your experience? Do you think this is the most mind-blowing 3D you've ever seen? Because if it's not getting a good review, it's going to tank James Cameron's like
so nobody
need
go to
for this
Alita.
new thing.
Well, no.
Nobody go to Alita.
Go, and if anyone asks, what did you think of it? Just start
It was
crying
terrible.
and say it was
Be
terrible.
like, you know, Christoph
Just
Waltz.
mess with him.
Just he tried so hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So it's like a new projector. It's like a new system in theaters, or is
so-
it something behind the scenes? That
I
they're
think it's
doing?
something behind the scenes. I think
Sure,
they're
sure.
using a new style of software to create these things. So in my mind, what I'm sad about 3D is when I think of 3D, I think of something like coming out of the screen at me.
Right,
That's what I
right,
want.
yeah.
But now they're like, no, it's all about depth.
Yeah.
You're seeing things
Yeah.
further back. I'm hoping that this is maybe a blending of the two so that like you get the audience going, whoa,
Yeah.
when something
When
like
you
one
watch
of their
the-
whips their tails or whatever
Yeah.
they do.
That Alita trailer has lots of the stuff coming at you, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suspect that it would be a lot of that potentially.
I just wouldn't bet against James Cameron though, like because as much as I
Yeah.
hate the first 10 minutes of Avatar, and I hated like True
Yeah.
Lies. I mean,
Yeah.
I love Titanic.
Well, and he's definitely
He's-
brainwashed anybody who's gone to that Universal Studios like Pandora experience.
That's at
'Cause-
Disney.
Or is it Disney?
That's
okay,
in the
sorry.
Animal
Disney.
Kingdom.
Yeah, because
Oh,
everybody
wow.
I've talked to who's gone to those places, I say, oh, did you go to, and oh my God, we waited 4 hours and it was worth it.
Yeah,
and I'm
the
just
flight
like,
of
how
the
is
blah, blah,
that
blah.
possible?
Right.
That it was worth it to stand in line half a day. Like,
And
but-
again, for something that attraction came out 10 years after the movie
Right,
came out.
right.
And I can't tell you the last
It
time I
had
was
to come
flipping through
out
the
'cause of
stations
the movies.
and like, oh, Avatar's on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you'd be better off making a Shawshank Redemption experience
People
to
love
get
that.
my dollar.
Titanic. James Cameron,
Right.
just stick with Titanic. Just do that.
Titanic 2, the Titanicking.
Yes,
just
right.
some the whatever, the Britannia or something.
Just give us more
Lusitania.
Rose and Jack. That's all we want.
James Cameron. Oh, I should say, does Sam Worthington have a career anymore?
I haven't seen.
Because he
anything.
made like 5 movies in a year.
Yeah.
Is it going to be
He was the
in
big
the
boy
Avatar
for a while.
sequels?
I have no idea.
I don't
Yeah.
know. I thought I heard he is, and that isn't Sigourney Weaver even coming
Sigourney
back?
Weaver's coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, Mike, if you'd watched it, you'd know that
No,
in
I
the
s-
end, she's dead and
I-
she's just a full-on blue person.
Whoa, spoiler alert.
She shed her earthly
She
shell.
sheds her
She's
earthly
still
shell
there.
and gets downloaded into a blue person.
Hey, Val, spoiler alert on a 10-year-old movie nobody cares about anymore. Come on.
I said I'm about to tell you the end of the movie. I gave warning.
So I guess that is. So JJ made me think of something. What movie would you wait half a day to see, like an experience? Like for me, it would be like Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. The experience. Like you go into the world of Romy and
like a
Michelle.
theme park
Like a
world.
theme park for a movie that
Yeah.
just shouldn't have
I
one.
mean, you get to meet
MCU
Alan
for me.
Cumming, right? So
You
that'd
would,
be
you would
exciting.
get to
What do you
dance
think?
with
MCU for
Alan
me.
Cumming.
And Janine Garofalo.
Yeah.
Yes,
Well, that's
it would be
gonna
great.
happen.
Like they would have
That's
the whole
just
school.
inevitable.
You'd get to hang out in their lunchtime school area.
want a
There
Disney
would be
type theme
You could
experience.
go to a prom or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Reunion, I mean, type dance.
I know exactly what it is.
What?
So first and foremost, I am not a scary movie person. I'm a big chicken, and the most frightened I've ever been is still the most frightened I've ever been watching Gremlins. If I got to go to a Gremlins experience, to which they
yes.
used to have a ride that was at Warner Brothers has
did?
theme parks outside the United States. They've got one in Australia. They have one in Germany, and so the Germany one is the history of the Warner Brothers and it's a little sit in a chair and you ride through it like you do in the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah. Yep.
But what you find out, and Alf hosts it, by the way, what you find out is as you get in, the gremlins have escaped, and so they gremlinize everything. And so when you go through the Wizard of Oz area, it's all gremlins like in the little Wizard of Oz, and it's all animatronic stuff, and there's sparks going everywhere.
That's amazing.
I watched the YouTube video of some dude who had a VHS camcorder
Yeah.
That's
watching
amazing.
it.
Yeah.
I would wait 4 hours. I would wait 10 hours to go on a Gremlins experience that scared the poop out of my butt.
Yeah. That's amazing.
So
That's a good one.
know-
That is hard to beat, JJ. That is really
you
good.
remember Gremlins?
Oh, I
How
love
they-
Gremlins.
They interrupt the movie.
Oh, it's so brilliant.
Yeah.
The movie burns up, and then I can't remember in the movie. Is it Hulk?
Is that Gremlins
So,
1 or 2,
That's
though?
two.
Because
That's two.
That's
it's
two,
in
Mike.
Gremlins. Oh, that's right. It's
Hulk
in
is
Two
two.
when they're at the theater.
So
yeah, and they've taken over the
in
theater.
the movie, it's Hulk Hogan.
That's right.
Who says, "Go, you stop doing that," because
Yeah.
the theater manager comes. But if you watch the television edit of
different.
it's different. They're in all these old TV
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
And if you read the novelization of the book, yep.
You knew what I was thinking.
Yes. Did we just become best friends?
We just did because of the Gremlins 2 novelization.
You know, truth be told, though, you told me about the novelization a
did?
long time ago, and I spent $25 to purchase it off of Amazon.
I own it
I
too.
bet it's
Do
worth
you know
it.
who told
It
me?
was who?
John Lamb. What? Yeah.
Previous guest in the podcast,
That's
John.
why
Lamb.
I brought him up.
Yeah.
So I just thought of another one. I know that neither of you have had a chance to say
I'm
your
still
answer.
thinking on
so
it.
you think about it. Another potential answer for me
Oh,
would
I
have
know what
been
it would be.
Robert Altman's Popeye.
Yeah.
But do you know what? That exists. That exists
Exists
in
still.
real
Yeah.
life.
In Malta.
You can still go to the village, to Sweet Haven.
That blows my mind. That
That's our next
someone
vacation destination,
made
by the
a
way.
Popeye
Mike has
theme park
decided.
out of the leftover
Surprised it's not
sets.
Tunisia.
Wow.
You know, it's just like it's Star Wars, right? That's
Yeah,
the one in
yeah,
Tunisia,
that's in
like where you
Tunisia.
can still see like
Yeah.
the
Uncle
moisture farm.
Owen's
Yep.
Right?
Moisture farm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's genius that they use that, right?
Oh, yeah.
why
Right.
why wouldn't you?
Right.
Yeah.
Use the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you like Robert Altman's Popeye?
I love Robert Altman's Popeye.
Me too.
I love the music
Val does
in
not.
it.
Mike has questionable taste.
And
You have that in
I
common.
love-
Mike and
So-
I like Mike's
I love
taste.
the music.
It's weird how you
Yeah.
pronounce the word impeccable as unquestionable. But I don't want to correct you on your podcast. So
Can
You know,
just?
I
no.
quote once a week, and this is no crap. Once a week, my favorite line from Popeye is when Mother Oil is just trying to sit down at dinner, and she goes, "Man has the patience of Job," or is it Job? Certainly had a good job, Job. I think like her wordplay there is so damn funny. And when you see Pa Oil and he's crying, oh.
I feel like
Movie's
we've
fantastic.
established that there are two types of people in the world: the people that think polar bears will win, and the people that think
you're
gorillas
right.
will win, and they have very distinct tastes.
Yep.
I'm glad we got back to that because I did want to make one other point on the polar bear thing.
Right.
I feel like a lot of people say gorilla because they're a fellow primate, and you're thinking home field advantage,
no.
and you're just like your heart goes out to them because they're so human-like. Whereas JJ and I recognize the raw power of nature.
Right, but a polar bear isn't a tool maker or user as well. I
Right.
mean, apes have an evolutionary advantage to be able to do more things with their brain. And just to be honest, if I saw a person fighting a polar bear, I'd be like, I hope that polar bear wins because I don't really like people that much.
Yeah, right.
So I'm not too biased, but I see what you mean. I think it's a fair point to bring up. I just think that, and I would say it still could go either way, but I think that a gorilla has opportunity to pick up a rock and be like, oh, I should use this thing.
Yeah, and just
the polar
bash it
bear
in
would
the
just be
head.
like, I'm hungry.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Yeah.
3 times the size of this little thing trying to throw a
Little.
pebble at me.
Is Tim Curry on anybody's rip list? And I'll tell you how I got there in a moment.
He's got to be
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, he's old.
He's
old, and
tiptoeing along
he
the precipice
recently
for
had
sure.
that horrible stroke, and so he's wheelchair
Yeah.
bound. I'm to understand.
No.
And so I'll tell you how I got there. Thinking about gorillas, I was thinking about the Tim or Michael Crichton novel.
Congo.
Yes.
Congo.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how Tim Curry was in there and he was like the con man and the Lost City of Zanj. The diamonds from the Lost City of Zanj. And then Amy Pretty. That's where I learned my first piece of sign language. Amy Pretty.
Oh, Amy Pretty. Well, that's a Laura Linney film. Congo.
Yeah.
It is.
Laura
I
Linney's
loved Congo.
finest moment.
And she's like kind of a villain at the beginning, and then she
Yeah.
learns the error of her ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ernie Hudson as well in Congo.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I thought Sam Jackson was in that too.
No.
But he was.
I'm pretty sure Sam Jackson.
No.
Or you're thinking of Ernie Hudson.
Okay. Just,
Okay,
yeah,
I
they
never
all
got
the
to
same,
say
right?
my theme park
Yeah,
ride.
no,
Yeah,
we were
please.
I'm
just
going
filling
along
air.
the line of JJ. I'm saying aliens. Like, I want a scare
Wait
the
a
crap
second,
out of
though.
you. Aliens
Do
theme
you
ride.
remember when we went to Space World in Japan?
yes,
They
I
had an
remember
alien
Space-
attraction. It was
But that's not
lame.
going to be that calorie. I mean, I want the full, like, all
Immersion.
bets are off. Like, budget is no matter. Like, we're going to build
Yeah.
this to be the most amazing thing you've ever experienced.
We went
Did
to
you
the
ever
I want it to be
go
aliens.
to Alien Encounter in Tomorrowland at Disney World?
No.
I don't think Disneyland had
No. So
So-
it was a thing?
it. So yeah, and it was a ripoff of Aliens.
Yeah.
Michael Eisner said like people want
Mm-hmm.
terrifying rides, and so you're part of like a cargo crew or something, and there's an alien that's
sounds
trapped like in this
familiar.
tube in the middle, and you're strapped in, and then the alien breaks out, and so it's 4D. So like you can feel the alien like breathing on like your
What?
right ear, and then you feel something underneath your feet.
Yeah.
And it's a
Yeah.
poop out of your butt.
sounds-
Is the new term I'm going
I
to
was-
use.
the new
I
one.
was-
Scare the
Sounds
poop out of your
really-
butt.
That was a really, really.
I would base
and
it
now
on
it's-
Aliens 3. The prison.
Oh,
You're in the prison,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's that grody prison, and you got the commissary scene when they're in the cafeteria, and it comes out through the ceiling panel. And yeah,
Yeah.
I would use that kind of setting, I think.
I'm
Not a
actually
lot of
surprised
people
that
would, 'cause
people
Alien
haven't
3 's
used
not
that
a-
property
Yeah,
to, like in a
it's-
really
yeah,
great theme
right?
park attraction.
John Hawkes was in Congo. I didn't realize that. He's from Alexandria.
What, really?
He was in Deadwood.
Oh.
He played Cy
Yeah.
Star.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
you guys,
Yep.
should do like I was there too.
Yeah, he's
type
one of the other
scenario.
teachers, right? I think.
It's just his name was Bob Driscoll. I couldn't remember which character
Bob
that.
Driscoll.
Yeah. Good old classic character.
Yeah, that is
my
a
favorite
classic
farmer's
character.
name is Driscoll.
Oh,
They're
hey.
the ones who provide me my cucumbers for pickling.
Small world.
Wow.
Nice.
Wonder if it's
So
named after
yours
him.
was Alien.
Yeah, that would be mine.
Mine would
Yours
be.
is yeah.
Actually, I think mine is Star Trek: The Next Generation.
What?
I'd pick a TV show
Instead of the
Oh.
MCU?
because I want to go to 10 forward and I want to ask Guinan for advice, and I want to use a holodeck, and I could always just then simulate any other reality
Holodecks are going to happen.
in the holodeck.
We're
I
going to get a
agree.
holodeck someday.
I agree.
if I live that
Yeah.
long.
Well,
I
I
feel
think-
like it's going to happen.
I
You'll
think
never live that
but it's
long.
not going to happen in the way though. I don't think
no,
it's going to
not
happen
gonna be
where
like theirs.
where you walk into a
Right.
room and the area around you. I think what's going to happen is we'll be able to plug directly into your head, and then you're effectively in a dreamlike state because
Yeah.
your brain is effectively that.
Yeah.
And
That's
and
the Matrix.
that is
Right.
basically
The
the Matrix.
Matrix.
Yeah.
So I think
well,
we'll Matrix
it could be a VR type thing too.
Sure.
But I could see it being sort of like a Ready Player One scenario where like you're in a VR goggle
Right.
and you're seeing what's around you, but there's an overlay.
Right.
So that like you're
Heads-up
within the
display,
game
yeah.
sort of thing. So I can say like, I want to be in the jungle and suddenly my living room turns into a jungle. So where
Right.
my couch is a big rock or whatever. So,
Right.
you don't run into things, you
Right.
can walk around. But yeah, that's what I envision.
I think ultimately it will just be just overriding your senses completely into your brain, and which would be probably faster than having to develop all the other physical tech to have boundaries in your room.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do get that Elon Musk wizard hat that they're trying to make, then that would probably take us take us there at some point for sure.
Well, I just got a VR for Christmas, so that's why I say that, because I'm just obsessed with it.
I love it.
And I'm just
so
like,
great.
when are they going to do this? I want an overlay.
There's a
I
great
want
Batman
I
game.
want a digital overlay of my living room that I can change at will.
have you
and,
played the
and then
Batman
walk
game?
around in this thing. No, I
There's a
haven't.
really good VR Batman
Really?
game
Yeah.
from the people who made Arkham Asylum and Arkham City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
pretty
I
sweet.
really
interesting.
love the Batman property, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Mall of America is opening this. I tried the same company in Las Vegas. They have a VR experience where you get to be with, is it K2 from Star Wars?
Yeah. Yep.
The Alan Tudyk's character.
Oh, yeah.
Robot character.
My
And so-
most favorite new Star Wars character.
He's great.
Or you get a Ghostbusters experience. We did the Ghostbusters experience. And here's what I loved about it. So they put you in this big room where you turn around and there's separate room pieces for it, but they don't have like what I'm seeing as a couch is just like a wood platform that they've built in. So I can walk over and feel that there's something there, but
Oh,
not
cool.
know that it is.
Yep.
And so we're in an old building having to fight ghosts. What amazes me is at the end, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man pulls off a chunk of the building, and so we're exposed. And all of a sudden, I felt wind kind of going by my face, and you can hear all these other like things, like the noises of a city. And when we started shooting the Stay Puft, they put the smell of burning marshmallow in,
Nice.
and
Yeah.
it got hotter. Oh man,
neat.
it blew my mind so much so that at the end of it, they gave you a little card there and like, congratulations, cadet, and just guess which money grubbing I'll do anything for a buck cast member introduces the intro and exit of the game.
Oh boy, is it Dan Aykroyd?
It's Dan Aykroyd.
I was going to say, yeah.
Who doesn't even bother putting on the stance uniform. He's literally, he shows up and he's got like a t-shirt, like a Ghostbusters t-shirt on.
Oh, no.
And he's like, hey, new recruits, it's me, Dr. Stance.
Yeah.
Isn't that dude like a billionaire though?
He is, and that's why, because he keeps doing stuff like
But
this.
that's what I thought
Yeah.
was at some point you'd think
Yeah,
you don't have
you
to
enough?
hustle anymore.
Yeah, right.
He's got a bunch of textile factories too, I believe.
Right.
Oh, no.
And he owns
Yeah.
like a bunch of shipping
Yeah.
companies and stuff.
Crystal
like that.
Skull vodka.
Crystal Skull vodka.
The only way I would go on this Ghostbusters thing is if Kate McKinnon could be fighting ghosts
She's not there.
right alongside me. Well, then it's not my Ghostbusters. Hashtag not my Ghostbusters.
It's a new crew. You and your friends make up the new crew.
Yeah.
There's a really cool Game of Thrones one like that too.
Is there?
Where you ride in an elevator up the wall and you're actually in a wooden elevator and then it shakes, like
That is
like
awesome.
the elevator would, and then as you're going up it gets colder and colder, and then when you get to the top the doors like open and you get this blast of cold air in your face.
Does it smell like fecal matter?
No. It smells,
imagine
it
the
smells
world
like
does.
dry ice.
Shouldn't everything in Game of Thrones smell like fecal matter?
Probably. I would think that things would be pretty smelly.
Like-
there's not a lot of clothes
Yeah.
changing
I've gone
happening.
to some old timey place, when they do like sodbuster days and stuff like that, and it all smells like manure.
Yeah.
So I imagine
Yeah.
for Game of Thrones, it all smells like.
Maybe
Yeah, probably.
dragon manure smells like almonds though, or something.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Maybe.
We don't know. Have you ever
We've
smelled
never
dragon
even
poop?
seen them
You
poop.
haven't.
Maybe they don't poop. They're
I've
magical.
smelled a
Maybe.
lot of poops, though.
Let me ask you guys
I
something.
feel like it's gonna be like
None
the
of them are
Triceratops
good.
poop in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Massive.
This is a massive
No
thing.
poops
This
are
is a
good.
deep cut. Once every 5 years, I watch a mini series that was originally on NBC, and I enjoy it, even though it's campy and awful. Maybe you guys have seen it. In fact, if anyone's seen it, it's probably you guys.
Oh, wait. Can I guess?
Yes.
Is it V?
No, it's not. V.
Okay.
Okay.
It is the 10th Kingdom.
Oh, I've not seen that one.
No.
It's got the daughter. I can't remember her name from Father of the Bride, and then John Larroquette. Diane Wiest is in it. Ed O'Neill.
Kingdom. How have I
Warwick
not
Davis.
heard of this?
It's a,
The idea is that our world is the 10th kingdom of a realm of 9 other kingdoms that are where your favorite stories came from. And so the Grimm brothers actually escaped into our realm and wrote down all the stories that they knew as truth in history. So, for example, Anne Margaret plays Cinderella, and she's like 200 years old by the time this starts, and Snow White's great-grandson is about to assume the throne. It is awesome. It's streaming for free on Hulu right now.
Oh, I am so
highly
going to check it
recommend
out.
it.
Okay.
It's like 6 episodes at 2.5 hours per
Yeah.
episode, so there's
Yeah.
plenty of content.
Nice.
That
And when did
seems
this
Kimberly
come out?
Williams, that's her name.
When did this come out?
Early 2000s.
Okay.
So the effects are just horrible.
yeah.
But like, don't worry, because there's
I
still
have
a lot of
nothing against
physical
horrible
stuff and great
effects.
makeup
Yeah.
effects.
I'm a big fan of Legend of the Seeker, which Mike finds completely shameful and would rather I didn't
it's
cop
not
to,
very
I think.
good. That's,
Yeah, it's
wouldn't say
horrible
completely
effects.
shameful.
And it's, well, you make an unusual amount of fun of me for
because
for
I
that.
like you.
I bought the DVDs.
Yeah.
And he just shook his head. And whenever he sees them on the shelf, I think you're a little like, oh, God. Really? Val?
We should
really?
have separate
Yeah.
houses.
We should store them
Do
separately.
you guys share the same VHS collection?
Yes.
Is it yours
Kind
together or
of.
is it Mike's?
It's more Mike's because he curates it more than I do.
okay.
What would happen?
But a lot of them are my horrible choices.
Got it.
yeah,
Because when they're 25 cents, he's not really
Right.
going to argue with
Right.
me.
How do you turn down that deal?
love
Yeah.
collecting VHS. We've talked about if we ever broke up, how we would separate our dogs. We have 3 dogs. And so we know how we would do that. But we have not talked about how to separate the
No.
You
VHS
would be
collection.
getting Bijou. She'd be getting Peanut. And
Yep.
then Winston,
Winston.
would probably, you would be getting Winston too.
Yeah.
But yeah.
He's
Okay.
fine.
That's how
he
it's
was
gonna
my
work.
birthday present.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
gave Winston to her for her birthday, but he likes me more now.
What? That's not true.
He does. He loves me.
maybe
You should
because
have
you'd
I
be
can
seen
be
taking
the
to work.
carrying bridge if you guys need to
Yeah, we may need
trade
to-
off.
we may need
Maybe we need a neutral site to do some trading off.
Yeah.
I would allow you visitation. Yeah,
Well,
I think so.
let's see how the breakup goes. I mean, I want that. I don't.
If you
know.
had to pick a rip list for 2019,
Ooh,
are
yeah,
there
we
any
should get back
people
to that.
who are like on your list in particular?
Well, yeah, I wanted to pick George Perez, but apparently he's not.
Cool.
Maybe not famous
He's not
enough.
famous.
Not famous enough.
I go back and forth because one of the players that we follow, Jason Branby, he insists on only picking ultra famous people.
Yeah.
It just drives him nuts that like Travis or even Matt sometimes will just pick people he doesn't know very well.
Right.
And so I keep going back and
Well,
forth
and
between.
he gets really annoyed if like they go the whole year and nobody picks like a John McCain and then a John McCain dies. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
we failed as a group. Like this is incredibly poor of us to not get this.
Yeah, he doesn't care about the competition at all. He
No.
really cares about the commemorating lives.
Right.
Like we need to have when we're done, we need to have 100 and some names. This represents like the best of the best who died this year. And so I think that's really admirable. But then I am also really interested in. So I might just pick incredibly fringe characters like George Perez.
Do they go one at a time so that people can't double up on the same person?
It's just like
Yep,
a draft.
no
It's like a
doubling.
sports
Yep.
draft.
Yep.
They go
exactly.
around. Each person does a pick, and
Do they send flowers to the family? Like, because like, I mean, if you scored on
not
somebody,
do that.
like, you should probably be like, listen,
They do
sorry
not.
about Angela.
Yeah.
You know,
and I don't want to spoil it. We talked to them about what it's like for them when
When they win. 'Cause,
so-
I mean-
and that's one of my favorite parts of the documentary.
Ooh.
Yeah.
My
They
favorite
have
part of the
various-
documentary, I think, is still in the documentary. I can't imagine it wouldn't be.
What
And
part?
it comes towards the end.
It may be almost the very end, like the second to last minute.
It's a text message.
Yes.
Oh yes,
Yep.
that is really
That is
good.
my absolute favorite because I was
Yeah.
there for that when that happened.
Right,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we thought, did that just happen?
Yeah.
And the way you put, because I've seen a cut of the rip list. I haven't seen the final cut, but I've seen a pretty close to final cut, I believe.
Yeah.
And I
That's
thought that
true.
is the best moment for me.
It's one of my favorites
It
too.
gets
That's why I
killer.
saved it for almost the end. One of the characters is complaining about how many text messages these bozos send about like just the most minor celebrities dying. Like, because they keep track of everybody dying, not just the 100 and some people that are on their collective lists.
Yeah.
Because they just want to make sure everybody knows who's dying for next year.
Yeah.
And so they'll be like 15 texts in an hour. And she's complaining about the texts, and then a text literally buzzes on her phone
while we're
while we're
Interviewing
complaining
her.
about texts. That's what I like about documentaries is these
Catch-
little
capture those
surprises.
moments.
Like
Yeah.
you can't really believe that it happened in front of your eyes. It was fun.
One of my favorite pieces, are like, you got to be there at that moment, is in King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, where
Yes.
they're interviewing Walter Day, where they're like out in the middle of nowhere and he's wearing that giant coat, and they come back and you can tell they've obviously dropped him off, and then he calls him back immediately because while they were gone, he got that call from the Guinness Book of World Records. people.
Yes,
Yeah, so
yes.
they're like, they just happened to be there at the exact right
Yes.
moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that's one of my favorite
That
movies
is like
actually.
one of my
Oh, it's so
favorite
good.
movies just in general.
Yeah.
That movie, like to me, the the most incredible part of that whole thing is when they're just getting random footage in the car on the way to a competition where he finally brings like his wife and kids.
Yeah.
And the daughter says like, some people ruin their lives to get into that book. When he talks about wanting to be in the Guinness Book, I'm just like, that is pure gold, pure documentary gold. I bet whoever was shooting that at that moment must have just thought, that is the best thing to ever happen.
Yeah, you can't write something that great.
No.
I'm pretty
And
sure we
out of the
actually had
mouths
this conversation
of
last
babes,
time.
like,
We had
she
you guys
just-
on the
Did we really?
Just close to
I
it.
would talk about
Not
the King
not
of
that
Kong
line in
every time.
particular, but
Does this mean you won't invite us back because we're rerunning?
no, not at
No,
all.
no,
running
no,
about?
no.
Okay.
I don't know who I'm going to pick. I'm very kind of torn because, like you said, Matt said, we were welcome to be part of the group. And I'm going back and forth. Like 1 minute I'm like, oh, yeah, this would be fun. But I did do picks the year that we were filming just to see, like, out of curiosity. I didn't get a single pick right.
She was terrible.
And the people that do it, I mean, they're getting like 8 out of 15 or,
What?
But-
they're getting major numbers. And I'm like, I am not going to do well. But also, I just worry about like, is this going to become this overriding thing where I'm just thinking about death all day long? And that's probably not very healthy.
I
And
worry about that a little
so
bit.
I kind of don't know if I want to do it or not. I'm
It's
very on the
intimidating.
fence. It is intimidating.
It is it's obsessive, but they're not doing that well this year. Actually, I mean, I
really?
know we're not very
They're not
far
getting
into
a lot
the
of
year, but
picks
they've
right
only
now?
gotten
Yeah, what's like
collectively.
February?
No, well, it may be March, it
And
may be
sometime-
April
yeah.
when you listen. It may be
Right.
2020.
Oh,
I
yeah,
like to
right,
keep these
yeah.
things evergreen, but
I love that term.
they only have I think Carol Channing, Lyndon LaRouche, and then somebody I've never heard of, maybe a couple people. So they're not getting a lot of the. They're not getting the big names like James Ingram.
Yeah. They're missing the biggies.
It's tough
Yeah,
to.
who would I don't know who I would. I mean, I know Betty White's made it a number of times just because of her age.
Right.
But she also seems incredibly healthy.
Kirk
Yeah.
Douglas is always on there too.
Yeah,
And
right.
he just
So
keeps
I was
on
gonna say,
chugging.
are there names that show up every
Yeah.
single year, and
'Cause
it's
they're
like
like
you guys
100.
been like a decade.
Right.
This person may outlive all
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah.
Yep, Kirk
but they
Douglas
make a
is
good
one.
point. I mean, if somebody makes it to 100, they're pretty sturdy. They probably got a good 3-4 years left in
Right.
them
No,
usually.
that's true.
Yeah.
Like I look at like Dick Van Dyke, and like
That's a good
Dick
choice.
Van Dyke
Yes.
is in better shape
Yes.
than I am.
Oh, yeah.
But he's getting on in years.
Mary Poppins
He's
Returns.
in his 90s. He, dances
looks
a
pretty
bit in
good.
that.
Yeah.
He looks good. He's
Yeah.
married to like a 41-year-old
Yeah.
woman.
What?
So, like, I mean,
That's
he
not
seems
okay.
young
Yeah.
to me.
I think Dick Van Dyke is a lot. She's 41. She's not 18.
There's
I think it's okay.
Oh, of course it's okay. Are you kidding me? She's an adult.
I guess
Are
my-
you going to tell her what she gets to do with her body,
No,
Val?
she can marry Dick Van Dyke. I just am a little like, I guess, yeah. I
You
don't
wouldn't
know.
marry Dick Van Dyke right now?
I would marry Dick
Oh
Van Dyke
my
right now.
God.
I would. But I mean, my point was, I
you would
think
marry
he
Patrick
thinks
Stewart,
of
wouldn't
himself
you?
as younger.
He's
Yeah.
got a young wife in her like late 30s, early 40s.
I don't even know about that. I mean,
I would marry Patrick. If Patrick Stewart walked in right now and was like, "You and me in this closet, let's go," I'd be
Yep.
like, "Okay, Captain, I submit. I submit to you." For sure.
He's like, I'd rather you prefer to me as Merlin, my character from The Boy Who Could Be King.
Be like, "No, the only Merlin in my book is Sam Neill from that TV series."
The makers of Merlin are the ones who made the 10th Kingdom.
That would make sense. That would
What?
actually. I was
Okay.
as you were describing 10th Kingdom, I kept thinking of Merlin the whole
I
time.
have seen Merlin, so now
Yeah.
I'm more
and
sold on
Gulliver's
the
Travels
10th
as well as
Kingdom.
Danson, Ted Danson.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've
I
seen
cried
that.
at the end of Merlin when he and his love, when he makes them young again. He's like, I've got one little piece of magic left, and then they get to now live out a life together.
yeah,
As a
yeah.
little kid, I was like,
Man.
I was always waiting
beautiful.
for ba 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 ba. Because when I see him, that's all I can think about.
I was like, he looks so great next to that Tyrannosaurus Rex. Let's put him next to a dragon.
So Riplist,
Yes.
world premiere Fargo Film Festival 2019. That's
Very
exciting.
excited.
And then a big run after that, I imagine. You guys submitting
Hopefully.
to other
Yep,
festivals?
we're submitting to other festivals. Got another secret one after Fargo that
Hasn't
I'm
been
not allowed
announced
to talk
yet.
about
Yeah.
yet.
Sweet.
And then, hopefully another one and another one.
And then someone options it for a major motion picture like the Tag movie.
Oh, yeah. That would
Yeah.
be amazing.
That would be amazing.
Yeah, the Mike Schultz Valerie Coit box collection will be available pretty soon. that whole collective
We
of
should do
people.
that. I hadn't even
A
thought
box
of that.
collection?
But on VHS.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tucker.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I am pro
Oh, you
VHS.
said- okay, good.
I'm
Okay,
pro
good.
VHS. In
Phew,
fact, I've been
okay.
beginning to collect VHS
Oh,
again,
really?
but I am much more discerning than the two of you. It
Yeah,
wouldn't
I
be
know.
just any
We
VHS
take
because
almost all
you know,
comers.
which is pretty much the
I wouldn't
tactic you
just
guys
buy
take.
any
You
VHS.
just buy,
buy it
you just
all.
buy any VHS.
We don't
No.
buy it
that's
all.
not true.
I was given an opportunity to have a VHS, and I turned down the opportunity back in the day. I was helping Kristen
It's a big
Rudrud
commitment.
move from a second floor apartment to a fourth floor apartment. That she
She
needed to
offered
be
you a VHS tape of Fargo.
of the Academy screener copy,
Oh.
You should
which has
taken
got
that.
like all the junk on it,
Yeah.
and it's got the precursor.
Yeah.
I would have
And
taken that. Why
I
would you
would have
take
taken
that?
that. I would have.
Because I was ready to just leave. Like my friends and I had gotten roped into this at the last minute.
Yeah.
She wasn't packed, so we were literally doing things
no.
like we would take the bar out of her closet and carry like all
the
the clothes
clothes
in
like
one
that,
big
yeah.
swell. It was not a fun move. And
Yeah.
like it was the type of thing where it's like she needs to be out of here by midnight.
Yeah.
She's made it to this other apartment by midnight.
Wow.
So
That's
You
scary.
could
ready
have
to
had a
leave.
beautiful VHS memento of the
I
day.
know, and I wish I could go back and tell my younger self. It's
Yeah.
like, don't be concerned with going and meeting that waitress at Bennigan's.
no.
Be concerned with this. Because all you're going to do is lock yourself in a room and listen to somewhere out there
Yep.
for 2 days.
Come back around. Yep. Oh,
At the highest
that's sad.
play count on his iTunes.
And to the point now, like when I hear it, it does choke me up a little bit.
Yeah. It's
And
beautiful.
I've got a couple, like a previous podcast guest, Britta Nelson, pulls a real bitch move. And we'll be at places like Skate City, and she'll request that during like couples skate, and then she'll like wait for my reaction, and
That's fantastic.
That is fantastic.
it's only the pop version at the end.
Yeah, it's not that one, Mike. It's not that
Yeah.
one.
Oh, all right.
No,
Not that one, yeah. The one that sounds like that. It's not that one.
I was
Let me
just
try
trying to
again.
get you to quit singing
try again.
because you're not a big singer. So, that's, sorry.
How do you
Disagree.
guys feel about sexy animated cats?
Oh,
Do you mean Fritz the cat?
Well, anyway, if that's your definition of sexy.
I think many of the attitudes towards sex that I have are very unhealthy
I can't wait
because
to
of
hear more about this.
my unusual attraction to Pepe Le Pew as a child. I always thought Pepe was so hot, and
Sure.
now I realize, God, he's like a total sexual assaulter.
He
He's
is
like
a
rapist.
hashtag Me Too.
He is
For
hashtag Me
certain.
Too.
Problematic.
But as a kid, I was like, damn, Cat, why aren't you going for that? He is so hot.
He's got that French accent.
Yeah, I was all for Pepe, but I just didn't get it, and now I'm like, oh no,
Also, you
what
know,
has this done to me?
why have we not included in the fact that the Pink Panther is all about bullying? That's all that he does.
You're right, he
yeah.
is.
The Pink
yeah,
Panther was a bully.
yeah.
I didn't like.
Well, so's
like,
Bugs Bunny.
Yeah.
Bugs Bunny's a real
Yeah,
jerk.
he is.
Well, Bugs Bunny seems motivated though, because
He's
usually
being hunted.
Yeah, he's
Yeah, he
being
doesn't go out of
hunted
his way
by
to,
a
like-
man with a gun.
Yeah, but he's still sometimes
I never
unnecessarily
felt.
cruel.
I never felt sorry for, or I never
You didn't feel sorry for
hated
Elmer
Bugs
Fudd?
Bunny
Yeah.
for doing that, but
Yeah.
I did hate Tweety.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I always was attracted to the old lady, Granny.
Granny.
So like that's
Really?
why I
This is
think
true. This is not the first time he has said
Really?
this.
Yeah,
Nice.
because first of all, Granny's like commands the room whenever she walks in there, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
like
true.
which
Yeah,
is nice.
everyone stops doing what they're doing.
And nothing,
So charismatic.
nothing ever slows her down.
Charismatic.
And that's probably why, like, I am super attracted to like Angela Lansbury,
Mm-hmm.
Julie Andrews, of like Maggie Smith
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Whew.
Judy Dench is the one I think is the hottest.
I'm not attracted to Judy Dench.
What?
Nope, not attracted to Judy Dench.
When she's
And-
M in all those Bond
Yep,
movies,
and I
I'm
think
just
it's
like,
because she's
you're
always so mean to
made in-
Bond. Like that's my problem. Is like I really like Pierce, and here
Those
she is
two
being
are
all like,
verging
"You're
on-
the
no.
relic of the Cold War, Bond."
Those two are. They are in love. They are clearly in love. There's so much sexual tension between the two
Well,
of them.
yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if they got drunk one night and did it. Like
Let's
it's
get
just
it on.
totally could see that
They
happening.
make the subtext text in Skyfall.
Yeah,
she
basically.
is the Bond girl.
Yeah, she is
In
yeah,
Skyfall.
for sure.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
love each other.
Here's an interesting question, and we'll wrap this up with this.
Okay.
So I,
Okay.
during my day job, got into some hot water on Friday
Ooh, tell us
because
more.
I talked about my 3 favorite Bond films in order because I was sick on Wednesday, so I stayed home and I noticed that like right now you can stream every Bond
Yeah.
film like between the 3 major streaming services.
Yep.
My personal opinion, and I love the fact that Bond movies are everyone's own opinion.
Yep.
In order, Dr. No, GoldenEye, Skyfall. Skyfall being 3,
Yep.
GoldenEye 2,
Yep.
Dr. No
Yep.
1.
Yep.
Yep.
Dr. No
Those
is...
are controversial opinions.
They
I
they
will
really
say
are.
that. Yeah,
the fact I
very
didn't include any
controversial.
Roger Moore titles gets people's
I
goat
love
going.
Yeah,
Roger
yeah,
Moore.
Yeah.
I'm missing out on some of the great like side villains like Odd Job and
Yeah.
Jaws.
Well, and the fact that you're even including a Pierce Brosnan Bond film in there
Right, but
is
GoldenEye's
controversial.
good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm not, bashing. I love all the Bond movies, some more than others. But
So which are like name
the
3 that you
top?
love more than others? They don't have to be the. You don't even have to put them in top 3.
Yeah,
but
no. We've
name 3
discussed
that you
this
like
many times.
more than others.
Casino
Yeah.
Royale is number 1.
The first
The most
Casino Royale?
recent one,
Okay.
yes, with Daniel Craig. My probably number 2 is For Your Eyes Only,
Okay.
and number 3, View to a Kill.
Okay.
Those are my top.
You know that poker game is bullshit, right? Like in Casino Royale.
Yes, I am aware
Like
of that.
the fact of the matter is that like the world's gonna end if you don't,
Yeah.
like, he couldn't call England and be like, Your Majesty, I'm gonna need some cash.
Yeah, right.
Some
I know.
additional
I agree.
scratch.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, it
And,
was
like,
just to create conflict with him and Vespa, basically.
It really
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
It really
yeah,
was.
Yeah.
I do like the heart panels in the car though.
Yes.
But I feel like in a James Bond world of gadgetry, why'd they have to be all the way in the glove box? You know what I keep in my glove box? Kleenex and toothpicks. So if I really need those, that's when I'm rushing out to the car, not
Yeah.
for a life-saving heart panel. Mike,
Well,
thoughts?
I'm
Yeah.
really glad you asked me. I've actually been preparing
He's
for this
got-
my
he's-
entire
he's
life.
ranked.
I just opened up my Letterboxd account.
Oh.
I have one of the lists I have
Mm-hmm.
is ranking all the James Bond from best to worst,
Mm-hmm.
and this is based on science. I mean, I watched them, I rated them, and
Mm-hmm.
then later I put them in the order that I rated them. Number 1 is probably not going to be a popular choice with most people, but it's Moonraker.
Someone called in immediately after I talked and was like, It is bullshit that you did not put Moonraker number 1. That is the quintessential Bond. The gadgets are there.
It's
the
Jaws
sex is
goes
there.
Yeah.
into space.
Yeah.
Jaws has that great arc, little
Yeah,
character
yeah.
turn
Yep.
at the
Yeah,
end.
yeah.
Some of it maybe because I saw that when I was 9, right after Star Wars, and I thought it was the second best movie ever made at that time.
I was 14, by the way, when GoldenEye came out. So
Oh,
See, it's a good
that's.
age
I
to
do
be
feel like
ruined.
your favorite Bonds are dictated by how old you were when you started watching
Yep.
them in the theater, and that forever leaves an indelible mark on you, and then that's what you love.
by the way, another Alan Cumming role. Second Alan Cumming movie we talked about.
Yeah.
Invincible. So my number 2 is The Spy Who Loved Me.
Oh.
Lots of good gadgets in that. The Lotus car is amazing, but the best thing about that movie is the Marvin Hamlish score.
Is
Yeah,
wonderful.
it's really
And
good.
so
Yeah.
they have a disco version of the Bond theme at the
Nuh-uh.
beginning. It's total
What?
full-on disco.
You kidding me?
I'll play it for you later. And then they have, the Carly Simon song, Nobody Does It Better,
Yep.
is amazing. But then at the end of it, Marvin Hamlish gets like a men's choral group
Oh, that's
to
right.
do Nobody Does It Better as like this sort of almost Broadway number.
Yeah.
And it's the music in that alone brings it up to the top.
Did anyone? Was it last year that Marvin Hamlish died? Did anyone have
Yep.
Marvin Hamlish on their rip list?
I don't think so.
they did.
That's too bad.
I
Yeah,
think they
that
did,
is
but
too
yeah,
bad.
I think you're right.
Yeah,
He did
that's
die.
your-
And
Okay,
that's
so
number
3.
3.
number
Yeah.
3 is for Your Eyes Only.
Okay.
It's just a good stripped down
It
Roger
is.
Moore. I guess I
That-
really love Roger Moore, but
I
that's
like-
what
yeah.
science told me.
For Your Eyes Only for a long time was my number 1 because I tend to see I'm anti Moonraker. I tend to like the ones that are more based in reality, and For Your Eyes Only is the most grounded of all the Roger Moore ones because the stunts are very kind of real to life, like that whole cliffside thing at the end with the climbing up that tall crazy mountain in the Dolomites. All of that, like the scuba diving in that is realistic. The car chase with the VW bug at the beginning is like totally realistic. And that's why I like Casino Royale too, is because I feel like it kind of like grounded
See-
the action in like real like looking fights and stuff like that.
That's why I like Skyfall, is because
Skyfall
they take
has
away
that too.
all of his gadgets
Yeah,
and he has to invent like
exactly.
the light bulb
Yep.
filled with
He has
nails.
to use the ice
Yeah.
in the lake. Like, it's like all these. Yeah.
Anyone have Albert
It's
Finney?
being super smart.
That's another reason.
Oh,
Is
I
like
thought
Albert
of
Finney
that,
like
yeah.
shows up, and I
No.
went.
Yeah.
I remember seeing Skyfall and being like, "Oh my god, Albert Finney is in this.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody
yeah.
had him for this year.
And actually, I loved Javier Bardem
Me
as
too.
the villain.
Mm-hmm.
I thought his villain was crazy awesome, and I love the scene that's not even remotely subtle of the homosexual attraction
Yeah.
between him and Daniel Craig. Like
Yeah.
to me, that scene, if I had to rank scenes, that scene would be one of my all-time faves.
The amount of tension that's built from him crossing that giant
Yes.
room is so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
and
good.
stroking the thighs.
Yeah.
He strokes his thighs. Dang.
Oh my!
And he tells that wonderful story about the rats in the barrel on his grandmother's island.
Yeah, it's just fantastic. That scene is like one of my all-time faves. Just so good.
All right, what night does Riplist play?
It plays Wednesday, March 20th.
Okay. And this, if
in the
this is
evening.
after, do you have a website for this film yet? Is there a way people can track it?
People can. I think the best way to track it would be go to Twitter. It's Riplist Movie on
Okay.
Twitter. I like to commemorate people as they die and also give little news nuggets about the movie.
So this is not like the Space Jam website that just ends when Space Jam is released into theaters and then just sits there being an
It's-
archive.
no.
You're constantly updating this with new stuff.
I would imagine I'll keep commemorating people's deaths because I oddly enjoy. I mean, I'm a history buff, so I like you know, even when somebody somebody dies that I don't know that much about, I will just then research it, learn a little bit about them. It's really fun.
It's your most effective Twitter feed because it's in terms of like he started it as a promotional thing. However, like now you've got all these followers who are cinephiles and people
Yeah.
who are just interested in celebrity culture. So it's actually like I love that about it. Like it's not just about the film, it's actually just about celebrity death now, and that Twitter feed gets so much action. Like people comment and they retweet, and it's just really interesting to see what people say. And
And it's really positive.
it's
Like-
one of the more engaging Twitter feeds out
like,
there.
Like you said earlier, it becomes sort of, we're celebrating these people
Right.
more than
Yep.
being ghouls.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's too bad because they deserved more respect when they were alive.
Right.
And then you put them on a pedestal after they die. And then all of a
Yep.
sudden, everyone's talking about how great Burt Reynolds is. And it was like,
Yeah.
well, you douchebags haven't even gone to his last 3 movies.
yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like the one that really hit me was Sandra Locke.
Yeah.
Because everyone said, oh, Clint Eastwood's ex died. But I mean, she was a director. She was a great actor. She was nominated for an Oscar. And she never really got her due, I don't think, until she died.
Yep.
Sad.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
like,
you can also just Google Riplist and then you'll find the
there's a
website
website
and
for
stuff.
it.
by the
about
way,
it.
my
Yeah.
I love
website.
the imagery with the Grim Reaper with a thumbs up. Like,
Thanks.
top-notch stuff.
Yeah.
Top-notch stuff.
Well, and
It's-
Mike came up with the tagline based off
Choose.
of your absolute favorite movie of a couple of years ago. Train Spotting is one of your all-time
Right. In
favorites.
Trainspotting, they're all saying choose life. So
Yeah.
the tagline is choose death.
Choose death.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Val and Mike, thanks for coming on. We'll have you on again a year from now. And we'll,
I hope so.
And we'll have
Yes.
some fun then, too.
That would be
Sound
great.
good?
Yeah.
I'll be
Awesome.
back to talk about King of Kong.
Thanks for having us.
A huge thanks to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty for sponsoring this podcast. Folks, if you're looking to buy or sell a home, contact Natalie Deutsch today because Natalie Deutsch is not only a previous podcast guest, she's somebody who's going to care enough to sell your property for top dollar. She's also going to find you the best price possible if you're purchasing a new home. Last year on average, Natalie earned her clients $4,000 over list price on their homes and sold them faster than the market average. On average, Natalie's selling a home every 3.74 days. That's 2 homes a week. Those numbers don't lie. Find out why Natalie is one of the top agents in this entire market. Get a hold of her today, Natalie at hatchrealtyfm.com. You can also call 701-388-9338 or go on to livefargomoorhead.com. That's livefargomoorhead.com. Read all of her amazing reviews, and then listen to her episode of JJ Meets World. Thanks again to Natalie Deutsch of Hatch Realty. That's going to wrap it up for today's show. If you enjoyed this episode of JJ Meets World and would like to help us continue to produce 2 new episodes every week, you can donate to our Patreon. Check out patreon.com/JJ Meets World and donate today. Even as little as $1 a month can go a long way. Visit our website at www.jjmeetsworld.com or hit up our social media. We're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the sites the kids are using these days. If you'd like to stay up to date on new episodes of JJ Meets World, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, YouTube, or wherever you consume the podcast that you love. JJ Meets World is produced every week by Tucker Lucas. You can find out more about Tucker's work by checking out www.moonbasemaria.com. If you want to get in touch with your host with the most, go to linebenders.com and you can find direct contact info for JJ. I would like a duck shoved inside of a goose, shoved inside of a chicken, shoved inside of a turkey, shoved inside of an ostrich. What would I call it? Saturday night.